Folds and Sir William Herschel are also credited for coming up with the idea of fingerprints. Sir Edward Henry proposed a classification system based on ridges, known as the Henry classification system. The NYC Civil Service adopted use of fingerprinting in 1901. The FBI was created in 1924 and has the largest fingerprint repository in the world. Off the given surface and then transfer to a card for analyzation. Start at the top of the fingerprint and gradually smooth the tape down to the bottom of the print at a 90-degree angle. This should be done slowly and get the print to ensure there are no air bubbles. The tape is lifted off surface at a 90-degree angle from bottom to top and then carefully transferred to the card. Transfer by starting at the top of the fingerprint on the tape and gradually smoothing it down to the bottom of the tape at 90 degrees.
Use a tank that has an open container of water inside and a hot plate with super glue. Objects suspected of fingerprints are placed inside the tank. The tank is run for 30 minutes. It is essential to cover the tank, usually with tinfoil, and goggles should be worn to prevent fumes from reaching eyes or being inhaled. This type of fingerprint collection is good for unusual shaped objects that cannot be dusted effectively. Super glue fuming leaves frost on the object, so it should be the last thing done with evidence. Anhydrous spray is used on paper. It works by sticking the protein in the oil of latent fingerprints. It results in purple or brown prints. Anhydrin is sprayed 8 inches away, back and forth, soaking the paper. The paper should be dry for 5 minutes, but letting it dry overnight will yield the best results. Slowly move the paper a few inches above a hot plate to expose the prints. This should take about 25 minutes. Acetone can be used, but this makes the ink run, and xylene can be used, but it's more expensive.
Now you can see that the prints have appeared in a purple color, making it easier to analyze. Loops account for 60 to 65% of all fingerprints. They always have one delta. When the loop is pointing to the thumb, it's a radial loop, and when it's pointing to the pinky, it's an ulnar loop. Whorls account for 30 to 35% of all fingerprints. They have 2 deltas, and they are divided into 4 distinct groups: plain whorl, double loop whorl, central pocket loop, and accidental pattern. Arches account for 5% of all fingerprints. They have 0 deltas, and there are 2 types, plain arch and tented arch.
Ridge ending, bifurcation, enclosure, dot, island, spur. Crossover. The system assigns a numerical value to each finger that contains a whorl pattern, shown in the table. Fingers with a non-whorl pattern, such as an arch or loop pattern, are counted as 0. The sum of the even finger values, top row, is placed in the numerator, and the sum of the odd finger values, bottom row, is placed in the denominator. The value of 1 is added to each sum of the whorls. The classification is a fraction between 1 over 1 to 32 over 32, where 1 over 1 would indicate no whorl patterns and 32 over 32 would mean that all fingers had whorl patterns. Approximately 25% of the population falls into the 1 over 1 category.